Right now, you can get a guaranteed tough DeWalt 20-volt max bare tool free when you buy a DeWalt 20-volt max drill or impact driver kit. Shop in-store or order online. Lowe's, the new home for pros. Valid through 1/5 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. U.S. only.
At Napa, when it comes to serving you, their motor never quits. From next-day delivery and curbside pickup to getting involved with local communities, that's Napa know-how.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com. We're live. We're local. We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on a Tuesday. The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine, OGW Energy Resources, and Timothy's Bar and Grill. Tim's on Brown Street, of course, and Tim's on Brown Street. They have to be jacked tonight. The college basketball season officially tips off. Ohio State tips off the season. The Dayton Flyers tip off the season. The Wright State Raiders tip off the season. Coach K tips off his farewell tour. In fact, I'm already jacked about that matchup with Ohio State coming up at the end of the month. Kev, I already got my tickets for that, so I'm pretty excited about that as far as I'm concerned. So I love college basketball. You love college basketball, and the season's officially tipping off tonight. That's pretty damn exciting, especially with college football. We're in the heart of the season. The NFL, we're already past the halfway point right now. Both football, college, and NFL gearing up for the postseason, for the race to the postseason, I should say. Basketball's tipping off. It's a good time to be a sports fan.
Absolutely, man. Like you said, I'm a huge college basketball fan. You know, college basketball fans that actually watch from November until April and everything like that, they're few and far between. You know what I'm saying? But us being here in Dayton, Ohio, a huge college basketball town, always feel welcome. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm always welcome down to UD Arena. Obviously, always
What's
welcome.
that like?
Welcome that at the Great Nutter Center and everything like that to see the alma mater. And obviously, whenever I'm watching my team, Syracuse, play, I love it. But, you know, there's tons of matchups already on the slate. You know, Michigan State plays tonight in one of those big where is it at? It's at Madison Square tonight. Yeah, Madison Square Garden tonight. It's a big matchup going on with the big time brand schools out there that tip the season off the right way, get tons of viewers and everything like that. So I'm definitely here for it, man. I'm happy college basketball is back. And like you just said, man, everything's here. You got the NBA, you got college basketball, you got NFL, you got college football. I mean, it's sports heaven right now.
Still waiting to see where Odell Beckham Jr. Ends up. Again, if he is not claimed off waivers, he will be able to pick his destination. And all reports coming out recently, of course, are saying that his number one destination will be playing with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, which I joked with you before the show. I think it's very interesting. Go ahead, go to Green Bay. Think you're playing with Aaron Rodgers. You'll be reunited with Baker Mayfield in a year when the Browns trade for Aaron Rodgers. And it to me, irony right there. There's a lot of irony in that as far as I'm concerned. But we'll keep an eye on that. I wanted to open up with some college football, mainly because C.J. Stroud, we wanted to touch on this yesterday, just ran out of time, of course, because I needed all 3 hours to brag about the Browns whooping the Bengals' ass. I needed 3 full hours of that yesterday. We'll, of course, have some time for that today. It is a shortened show, by the way. Ohio State and Akron tip off later on tonight right here on 1410 ESPN Radio, and they'll be taking over at 5:15. So, you know, 'tis the season to be jolly. It's that time of year where you start giving unto others. I'm giving you a break from me tonight. Unfortunately, that means less time with Kev for you guys, but the good thing for you guys is less time with old Ken Dog over here. So I just want to throw that out there. So there you go. A lot to get into today. I want to talk about Ohio State, Kev, not about where they could potentially end up in the college football playoff rankings that come out later on tonight, although I do believe they could end up in the top 4. It would not surprise me one bit. I don't see how they couldn't. But C.J. Stroud is a topic of conversation right now because of something he said after the game this past weekend. I didn't get to watch the majority of that game. I had it on the radio, and of course, I knew that there was a lot of struggles with the offense, not being able to cap off drives, and a lot of the frustration. Keith Byers was very critical of Ryan Day's play calling that day. Kev, you did the show with him on Sunday, this past Sunday at Frickers, and whether it's the lack of designs to allow C.J. Stroud to make plays with his legs or his inability to do so, that's still what's up for debate. But C.J. Stroud has been saying something that has a lot of Buckeye fans mad, but yet, what cracks me up is what C.J. Stroud said over the weekend is exactly what a lot of you Buckeye fans, you love that line to use in the NFL when talking about Lamar Jackson. We talk about Lamar Jackson's ability to be able to make plays with his legs. And I know I've been in the habit of saying that, hey, it's impressive what he could do with his legs, but can he throw? Because at the end of the day, the quarterback position is what gets paid top dollar, not your top running back. And if the Ravens want a running back, then they have one in Lamar Jackson. If they want a quarterback, well, they need to go find one, right? That's been the main criticism of Lamar Jackson since coming into the NFL. I'm not really here to talk about that right now. And by the way, Lamar's kind of put to rest a lot of those criticisms. Is he an elite throwing quarterback? No, but I think his ability to make plays with his legs closes the gap on that inability to throw at an elite level. Look, that's besides the point. My point is a lot of you Buckeye fans love saying, well, they don't need a running back, they need a quarterback. That's what you guys love to use. But C.J. Stroud had the nerve over the weekend to utter the words, my job is not to run the ball. If it was, I'd be a running back. And people lost their minds. And I understand why people are angry, because you're watching the game and you see these lanes, you see these paths that he can easily just tuck the ball, run, pick up a first down, pick up a touchdown. There was 2 times in this past weekend where he could have easily just tucked it and ran, and he didn't. And I understand why Buckeye fans are upset. But we have been, I guess, conditioned over the last 5 years that these quarterbacks are no longer just stand in the pocket and throw it. We are conditioned to look at quarterbacks now and say, we need you to make plays with your legs. Trevor Lawrence was a traditional, and I'm putting quotations that, traditional pocket quarterback who can roll out, make plays on the run, but was a guy that made plays in the pocket, right? Until the Fiesta Bowl, where the only time he ran for over 100 yards just happened to be against the Buckeyes in the Fiesta Bowl a few years ago, but that's not really what I want to get into. Is C.J. Stroud wrong? Is he wrong when he says, my job is not to run the ball? If it was, I would be a running back. I love the line. And it's hard to argue that when you have a team that has probably arguably the deepest running back room in all of college football. And you have arguably, it's tough to you look at, the running back at Michigan State's pretty damn good this year. He's having a great year, so I don't want to disrespect him. But if I have my Buckeye cap on, I think obviously a lot of people would agree if I said, hey, Trevion Henderson, even as a freshman, if he's not the best running back in college football right now, he will be within the next 365 days. And if he's not already right now, right? Like, I don't know what the gap is, but we'll talk about that later. Is C.J. Stroud wrong? We'll open up the phone lines at 518-1410. Kev, before I get to you, I just have to say, I agree with him that his job's not to be a running back, but I also disagree with him that if there is an opportunity to make a play, if there is an opportunity to pick up a first down, if there's an opportunity to advance the ball, you can't ignore that. You can't take a sack. You can't throw it away. You can't try to force a throw that's not there just because your job's not to run the football. And maybe he's right. Maybe the design play call for him is not to run the football. It's to sit back there and take advantage of the fact that you have the best receiving core in all of college football, right?
Right.
Like, why would you draw up plays for C.J. Stroud to run the ball when you have the most talented wide receiving core in football? Why would you draw up plays for C.J. Stroud to run the ball when you have arguably the deepest running back room in all of college football? All of that makes sense. But I do believe what C.J. Stroud needs to comprehend is the fact that this isn't about you needing to be a running quarterback first, but you do need to have the comprehension of the game to know that if there's a lane for you to take off and make a play, you have to do it. That you are doing the team no good by standing there in the pocket trying to wait for your receivers to get open, ignoring a pass to pick up the first down or advance the ball or avoid a sack. I'm torn on this, Kev, because I agree with them, but I also understand why people are so frustrated. Is this a C.J. Stroud problem? Is this a Ryan Day problem? Is this a problem at all? I don't necessarily think it is, but I do know this. If it's a national championship game and he needs to pick up a crucial first down in the fourth quarter and he's trying to get the ball to Chris Olave or he's trying to get the ball to Garrett Wilson and he waits and opts not to pick up the first down and trying to get them the ball and then gets sacked or ends up fumbling the ball and costing the Buckeyes a national championship, championship. I'm being dramatic, but at the same time, I'm not, because what you do in the regular season prepares you for those big moments later in the season. It prepares you for the cold days of December, January, when you're either playing in a big bowl game or playing in a big playoff or hopefully national championship game. That's the big question I have, Kev. Is this a problem at all? And if it is a problem, who does it fall on? Is it CJ Stroud's mindset that's the problem? Does his mindset stem from the conditioning of the coaches and how they present the playbook to him and Ryan Day and company? What's the problem here, and is it?
Huge problem. And this is why it's a problem. You can't be boxed into believing that all a quarterback is supposed to do is distribute the ball. Like, that's an antiquated way of thinking. If you have a lane like you talked about to run and pick up a first down, you do it. You have to do whatever you have to do. I know it's a big, famous in the Super Bowl with John Elway in his last season. He needed to pick up the first down. He's definitely not the runner that he used to be back in his early in his career, and he got helicoptered and banged up on the play, but he got the first down. You have to do whatever you have to do to advance the chains. That is the role of the quarterback, is to get first downs. So obviously, yeah, primarily it's with your arm and making the right read and getting to your playmakers. But if all else fails and there's an opportunity for you to pick up a first down, or for goodness sakes, a touchdown, you do it. Like, that is as simple as that. And a lot of that goes on him because he's the actual person on the field making the decisions. But it always goes back to the head coach. It goes back to the head coach, not only the head coach, but we always got to remind people our head coach is also our play caller and our quarterback coach. So he's in the room with him every single day, going over the film. Hey, man, you see this little lane right here? Nobody's open. You could have picked up 5 yards and got out of bounds, picked up 5 yards and slid, protect yourself and everything like that. Advancing the ball, like, if you dare use your legs as a quarterback, that's slowly but surely being debunked, saying like, oh man, we just want you to be back there, a statuesque quarterback, a Dan Marino. Yeah, if you're Dan Marino, that works, but guess what? CJ Stroud ain't Dan Marino. You know what I'm saying? So if you have the ability to pick up a couple yards with your legs, absolutely you should do it. And when you do that, you open things up not only for yourself, but for your other teammates. Because guess what? When they run that zone read play, nobody's crashing or nobody's thinking you're going to keep it, because you have yet to keep it all season. It is gone to the running back every single time. And you know why they run the zone read? Because it takes a number out of the box. We talked about this ad nauseum, why the run game for the Ravens worked so well. Yeah, they got some decent running backs back in 2005. Those running backs that they got on their team are good, but they have a good offensive line, but they have Lamar Jackson, and that keeps an occupied player to stay on Lamar at all times. So it decreases the guys that are in the box. So it opens up the run lane. Now, could he be saving it for the big game? I doubt it, but you know what? It would be nice if you kept it on one of those zone reads and picked up a first down. It would be nice. It would be very nice.
So, and that brings up the other side to this debate. And if you're just tuning in, CJ Stroud caught some criticism for his comments in the post game when asked about, why he's not trying to take advantage of his athleticism and ability to make plays with his legs. He goes, my job is not to run the ball. If it was, I'd be a running back or something. And people have jumped on that. And my thing is this, is the perception of the running quarterback. And I don't think that's what this conversation is about necessarily. But a lot of times the perception is, well, and I don't want to make this a white-black thing, but it really comes down to, well, Michael Vick, did he run the ball so much because he was overcompensating for not being able to throw the ball as well as Lamar Jackson? Does he run the ball because he has to, because he can't throw? Or does he, that's always the big questions that get thrown out there. That's really not what this is. But I do know I can see where you could become conflicted, because why would you want to risk your quarterback getting hurt? Why would you want him to run and get hit when a lot of times teams that have quarterbacks that have to make plays with their legs, it's because usually they're the best playmaker on the team and they don't have playmakers around them. Lamar Jackson's a prime example in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, the only chance the Ravens have of making plays is, well, with their weak wide receiving core, who's Lamar going to throw to? Is it because he has no one to throw to, or is it because he can't throw? So then he has to run because that gives them the best chance to make plays. Well, is that a little reckless that you're constantly taking your number one asset and counting on him to run to make plays every time he tucks that ball and runs? Sure, we're all in for the ride. We're all enjoying it. It's one hell of an experience. Remember the Michael Vick commercial, the Michael Vick experience? This is the Lamar Jackson experience. The CJ Stroud experience is pretty damn boring, if you ask me, from a running standpoint, right? So with that being said, it's Lamar Jackson runs because he has to. Running quarterbacks a lot of times make plays with their legs because they have to. I can understand where Stroud's coming from. I don't have to run and risk getting injured and being knocked out. I'm trying to keep my job so that mullet man behind me doesn't come and take my job. All right. And is maybe that's his mindset, Kev. You know, it's a competitive quarterback room. Could that be it? I'm not going to run and risk getting hit. We have Trevion Henderson. Let that mofo run the ball. I'm just going to stand back here. Why would I tuck the ball and run and take away an opportunity for Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave to make a play? That's what they're paid to do. And by the way, you look at CJ Stroud, he could throw the ball. Mm-hmm. He has a ton of stats on the season. You want to know how many yards rushing he has on the year, Kev?
I would probably only imagine like 20, if that. 20
yards rushing is your guess? CJ Stroud has 5.
I was about to go to negative because of sack yards and everything
that
like
has
that.
Probably a lot to do with it.
But I mean, I can't recall outside of that run that he had against Michigan State last year. I don't remember him running. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, you know me, I don't watch blowouts, and Buckeyes are engineering a lot of blowouts, which I love. So I'm not really watching in the fourth quarter if he's even in the game. So
there you go. But again, I don't know what's right or wrong here. There has to be a balance in the middle, I'm sure. But 518-1410, 518-1410. You can give us a call. But also jump in the chat section. We are live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. You could also find ESPN Dayton on YouTube. Search and subscribe to ESPN Dayton YouTube channel, where you could watch the show live. Any topic Kev and I are on, usually it's 3 hours of bashing the Bengals, according to most. That's really not the case today. I'm saving that. I'll bash them later. But we're talking Ohio State football right now. CJ Stroud, is he wrong when he says my job's to be the quarterback and throw the football? If my job was to run the ball, I'd be a running back. I'm kind of, filling in the gaps there, but you see what I'm saying here. And do you see what he's saying? Is he wrong? 518-1410. Let's go to the phones. Where is Tennessee Jeff? Which line? He's on 2. Tennessee Jeff, how are you, my friend? Thank you for being patient with us. Where are you?
Sure. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Now we can. Yep. All good, man.
I don't know who the PD is for this station, and it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to tell you this much. I don't know what they pay you guys, but I like elite, and y'all I'm telling you, they better ante up and back to Brinks Street, because you guys are really freaking good. I don't listen to boring. You guys are on point. You tend to talk me off the ledge, Justin, a lot, and Kevin's you guys are just really good, man. So you guys could go anywhere, because I've been all over the country. You guys are solid as you know what. So with that being said,
thank you.
I'm not. Well, it's kind of like what Justin just said. I don't know if you follow my post, but I posted Sunday because it ticked me off as far as what he said. And then I'm exactly where Justin is with this. Now, listen, and Kevin, for that matter, it is not your job to be a running back. We've got Trevion Henderson, which, again, I got goosebumps telling you, he's the best running back in college football. Listen, we rushed the field Saturday at the Penn State game. I wanted one person to pitch with. I went right to Trevion, man, because he will be a Heisman Trophy winner within 2 years. I guarantee it. If he stays healthy, dude's a beast. Now, on to the next young man. A couple months back, he said, I'm only 19. What do you want from me? My shoulder hurts. That's right before he got, quote unquote, sat down for a game against Akron on a Saturday night because his shoulder. He could have played. I know that for a fact. They sat him to get out of his head. I am like Kevin says, dude, I don't care. Listen, we got 3 number ones in any school, definitely in the Big Ten, 85, 90%. Any of our top 3 guys, Smith, Garrett, or Olave could be number one basically anywhere in the country. They're that good. Plus, we got an offensive line that's been shaky the last couple of games, but they're pretty good, man. I mean, they're one of the top 5-0 lines in my opinion. And Trevor Harrison speaks for itself. Now, if you can't get the ball to a freaking wide open Olave going down the seam, I don't know if you guys saw that against Nebraska, or if you're he's young. What is he? 18? He's young, so 19 maybe. But my point is, you better run that football, because if you got 12 yards and nothing but green in front of you, which I've seen probably 9 times this year, and he throws the ball out of bounds, like Kevin says, takes a sack, or you got to take it, dude. You just got to run. Now, as far as the read option, that's another weapon. Like, if you're a DC, right? If you're a coordinator, who you gonna guard, bro? I mean, if you got all of our weapons on the outside, plus you got Trevor, plus you got a guy that can run the ball, he can run, but he looks timid to me when he runs. He looks like he doesn't want to get smacked. Like, I just think I am a CJ Stroud dude. I like him. I'm with Justin. I don't think Ewers will ever play it down at Ohio State. I think we'll be number 4 tonight. Guarantee it, and we simply win against Purdue, which we're going to spank them because of what they did to us 49-20 in West Lafayette. Sparty's not. I just think we're going to run the table and be in the playoff. What we're going to do in the playoff, it just depends on who shows up. But you got to move the change, dude. Like Justin said, if it's, and you say you're over exaggerating, but no, you're not, because if you got 4th and 6 and you got everybody covered and you're playing against Georgia, good luck, bro. I mean, you better pick up the first down.
That's a good point. I didn't think about Georgia, but Georgia's gonna. I'm not saying they're gonna shut down the wide receivers, but Georgia will put a lot of. There'll be a lot of resistance for those receivers. They're not gonna. You talked about that 12 yards of grass and green right in front of these receivers. There's not going to be a lot of those opportunities if they run into Georgia in the national title game, or maybe round 1 of the playoffs.
Right.
That's a good point, Jeff, because that's really what it comes down to is if the receivers are taken away, you're going to have your run game with the running back, but it's really going to, and that's what made Justin Fields so damn good. He could pass with the best of them. You take his receivers away. He tried to make plays against Alabama in the national title game. They were just overwhelmingly good. You had guys missing because of COVID and stuff. But yeah, that's what CJ Stroud's missing to be that Justin Fields type quarterback, is the ability to be dominant in the air and on the ground. I think he's just as good in the air, but he has to be way better on the ground. Not way better. He has to just be something, because he had 5 total yards rushing on the year. That ain't going to get it done. Not against the Georgias.
Well, if you guys remember against Clemson, they didn't know what to do because we had Sermon that was just on freaking fire, right? Mm-hmm. And then you got Justin running the read option. Who do you guard, man? Their linebackers were freaking lost. So I'm not asking this cat to be Justin Fields, but dude, I don't really know what he meant by the statement because I haven't talked to anybody this week because I've been sick. But I can't read his mind. But I do know this. Like Kevin said, if you got a 4th and 6 or 4, whatever, and you move the chains, dude. Your job is not to be a running back, but you know what your job is to do? Your job is to freaking absolutely until we get in the end zone. So whatever it takes, buddy. So that's all I got. You guys are fantastic.
Thanks, man. Take care. Appreciate the kind words. 518-14. No, real quick. People want to know how much we paid him to say that about us. We didn't pay him a dang thing. Let's be clear. When he asked who the program director was, I started to panic. I'm like, uh-oh, what'd I do now? But there you go. He's mad at me for not paying me enough. There you go. I'm mad at me too.
Nobody's asking CJ Stroud to be Tommy Fraser of the Nebraska team back in the 90s to be running the triple option and everything like that. Nobody's asking him to be a Navy quarterback. Nobody's asking that. No, of course not. Hey, man, we just asked you, hey, man, when, there are times where our great receivers are covered. The other team are on scholarship, too. So instead of throwing it away, and if there's an opportunity to pick up 2 or 3 yards, just get out of bounds, slide. All right. 2nd and 3. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. It's not that big of a deal. And that's something that, Coach Day is going to have to work on him on. Like, I don't know how or why this thought process is in his head that I just stand back here and try to be Peyton Manning. Like, I mean, shoot, Ben Roethlisberger ran for a first down last night. He's 50 years old. CJ, you're 19. If he can do it, you can do it.
Now, again, and this is just and every play is going to be, there's going to be different scenarios that develop that you have to look at and say, okay, does it make sense for him to run here? Does it make sense for him to run there? So I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence's rushing stats. So Trevor Lawrence he was almost 1,000-yard career rusher, 943 yards, and I think 942 of those came against Ohio State in that Fiesta Bowl. That it's still painful. You slew. Holy crap, Kenner, what is wrong with you? They slowed him down in the pass attack and then let him run all over him. It was unbelievable. I'm still, thinking about that. While you guys were blaming the officials, I'm sitting here angry that the defense let, Trevor Lawrence run all over him. But it is what it is. 518-1410, CJ Stroud says, hey, don't get mad at me for not running the ball. I'm a quarterback, damn it. Yeah, if you want me to run the ball, then I need to change. I need to be a running back then because I'm not a running back. I'm a quarterback. It's like it makes sense. I get what he's saying, but I don't think that fans are clamoring for drop more running plays for him. I think people are just asking Ryan Day, hey, tell him to, go straight, like run forward, make a play. But maybe this is an example of a young kid feeling the pressure, trying to really focus on the passing element. And almost doing it to the point to where it's slowing down the offense, if there is such a thing. But how is that different than if you have a quarterback that's not capable of making? Are we doing this because we know he's capable of making plays with his legs and he's not, or is this a problem because he can't? What's the difference? There are teams out there of quarterbacks that can't make plays with their legs, and we don't sit there and critique it. But again, if Trevor Lawrence can have almost 1,000 yards total rushing in his career, and no one looked at him as a running quarterback, you have to at least be able to make plays at opportune times, and he's not even showing the willingness to try and do that. Do you think it could have been a thing? You had no Jack Miller. We've seen Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord's the one that got the start against Akron. Could it have been a thing with no Jack Miller, short at quarterback that day? Maybe that's what. No, I don't think that conversation
this
happens.
has been that all season.
That's a good point.
It's been like this all season. And I think
you could see the film, he's literally we're like, go. What's he doing? Why is he not doing it? It's insane, the gaps he's just ignoring at times. I see why people are upset, but I see his side too.
And the thing about it is I think people are really harping on the fumble that he had against Nebraska. There was plenty of space for him just to step up and run, but he just rolled out and kind of sat there waiting for somebody to break open, and he got hit from behind and fumbled the ball. Thank goodness Whippler jumped on the fumble. Thank goodness a DB from Nebraska didn't scoop and score or anything like that. Then would have been losing at that point, everything like that. So I think it's those instances where, hey man, not only you didn't run to pick up yards, you fumbled, and that could have been disastrous. You know what I'm saying? So it's opportunities out there for him to run, and nobody's asking him to run all the time. We're just asking you, hey, if people are covered, go ahead, pick up the 3 yards and slide or get out of bounds. That's all. I don't think anybody's being unreasonable right here. No, I don't think that anybody's asking Coach Day to draw the JT quarterback power run game anymore. Nobody's asking for that. We're just saying, hey, man, if it's a lane there, go ahead and take it. What's the big deal? It's football. You're going to get hit. You are going to get hit. You're going to get them paws put on you if you're in the pocket or out of the pocket. So if you're going to get hit, you might as well pick a couple yards doing it, right?
518-1410. That's a good point. I don't think anyone's saying, hey, we want the CJ Stroud experience like the Michael Vick experience, but we want to experience something. 5 yards total rushing on the season. I could see both sides, but I do know that CJ Stroud's closer to being wrong than he is right, although I understand his thinking. But the thing is, I know this sounds funny, he shouldn't be allowed to think like that, because it should have been pounded into his head by now that, no, dude, you got to make a play. And I saw someone on Twitter, and I don't know if these are his actual high school stats, but he was 1,000-yard rusher in high school.
Yeah, me and my brother were talking about
so
this.
I don't know if that's accurate or not. It's some random person on Twitter, so I don't know. But you said, you and your brother talked about that.
Yeah,
so he's capable.
Yeah, it's basically me and my brother were talking about all that talk about him being the number 2 dual threat QB coming out of high school. Ain't no dual threat out here. This is all pocket passer.
And by the way, that's a good point, because that's the difference between a 3 and a most likely a 5-star. Good pocket passer, you're going to be a 3-star. You dual threat, that, you know what I mean? That's what gives you that bump, as being the guy that, then there's quarterbacks out there who can't throw, that are nothing but just playmakers on the ground at the high school level. And then they get attention for their athleticism at that point. But he had the ability to get the attention that a throwing quarterback gets and a playmaking quarterback with his legs gets. That's what made him so damn good in high school. And a lot of times you think, man, if he's that good in high school doing what he does, you add the Ryan Day touch to it, it's going to go to that next level. Well, the passing game has been about what we expected, really solid, but it's not being complemented by the run game. And whether that's a message being delivered from the top or that's just his internal approach to the game, I don't know. 518-1410, Kev, who's up next?
We got Charlie on line 4.
Charlie, how are you?
I'm good, man. The Bengals are better than the Browns, but man, the Stroud, you can look at the Stroud situation from a lot of different angles, but
you're right. You can look at it from the top, or you can look at it from the bottom up, like the Bengals are looking at everybody in the division. I'm just saying, you're right. You are very accurate. You can look at it from a lot of different. What's that?
We're talking about the Buckeyes right now.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I brought up the Bengals for no reason. I don't know where I came up with that from. My bad.
I don't know. That is weird.
That's weird. I know. What you got, man? I'm just giving you a hard time.
Man, maybe he's just trying to control his own narrative, of his career. No matter.
Hey, real quick, Charlie, hold on 1 second. Matt, so someone just messaged in, and see, Matt, this is why I didn't want to go off of that necessarily. Matt Sturgeon says he just looked it up. C.J. Stroud rushed for 328 yards over 4 years of high school. So he was not a runner in high school. So how could we be mad at him if that's not who he is? If clearly, right. And Matt, thank you a ton. That's why when that random person on Twitter pointed that out, I'm like, I don't know who that is, so I'm not going to give it too much credibility. And Matt could be a random guy on Facebook. Maybe I should have given him credit. But the thing is, that would be like drafting. That would be like going out and recruiting someone in basketball that's not a 3-point shooter in high school and then bitching because when they get to college, they can't knock down a 3-point shot. Charlie, I'm hand it back to you now, but I just wanted to point that out from the guy on Facebook.
Well, all I was trying to get at is, I think he's trying to get out in front of it and just stay in control of his own narrative for his career, because it doesn't seem to matter what Lamar Jackson does. It's almost like people don't watch Lamar Jackson play football. They're just like, oh, he can't throw. It's like, yes, he can. He can throw. It's fine. But I think with Stroud, it's like, well, number one, there's so much. It's like we're going to be a fourth, in the top 4 teams. So I don't have to run. I have one of the best receiving corps, and I have some of the best running. There's no, maybe he can, maybe he's great, But so what? Maybe he's trying to set it up to where people don't think of him like that. Where people think of him more as not really a pocket passer, but more of a thrower than a runner. There's plenty of guys in the league that could run if they wanted to. But and maybe that's what he's going for. And I don't understand, Clemson has no chance this year of doing anything. And Ohio State has set themselves up to potentially go to the playoffs. And no one, why is anyone even upset at this? And here's the other thing, Justin. When's the last time you really cared what a 19-year-old said? You know what I mean?
That is true.
He didn't say anything crazy. It's just you can't watch Ohio State win after win after win and be like, why does he even run the ball though? Just enjoy it, man. Relax.
This is why I'm having a hard time beating up on him, because if what Matt on Facebook said is true, he's never been a running quarterback. So why are we mad that he's not running the ball in college? So that's where I'm with you on that, Charlie. At the same time, instead of paying attention to all the great things he does, we're focusing on what he can't do. There's not a lot of perfect quarterbacks out there. There's no such thing as one, unless your name's Tom Brady or Baker Mayfield, of course. But I'm joking, by the way. Tom Brady's not that great. So with that being said, you look at it, and I'm like, I just don't know why people are so amazed that he's not running the ball. He didn't run it in high school. Matt, thank you for bringing that to our attention. But at the same time, it's I just don't understand. People are spewing venom at this kid on Twitter, and I'm like, really? Holy smokes. Oh, man, he's getting ripped. He's immature. I mean, right now, Steve on Facebook says it just shows his immaturity. He's a freshman, but he did not look good last game. Maybe he didn't look good last game. I don't think he's immature for. Is he immature for saying that?
He's 19. Yeah, I'm gonna go with he's immature. I wasn't mature until probably a month ago. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you shouldn't have said 32.
I'll let you know when I get there, by the way.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe you shouldn't have said it like that. But I mean, that's one of the great things about being a player at Ohio State. A lot of different programs out there across the country, they don't really let their student athletes speak. at Ohio State, they kind of embraced their student athletes, talking to the media, getting that quote unquote hands-on training for the next level and everything like that. Okay,
Charlie, thank you.
If he only had 300 rushing yards in high school and everything like that, that's one thing. But and like we talked about ad nauseum already, like we're not asking him to be a zone read, run the option and everything like that quarterback. We're just asking, hey man, when your guys are guarded, just pick up a couple yards and get out of bounds, man. Like just a little bit. We're not asking a ton. Like, because we're looking towards the future. We're looking towards the bigger games. Like, yeah.
But why don't other quarterbacks that don't run, why do we not rip them for it? Why are we not like, if a quarterback, like, again, I don't want to make this a white-black thing, but could this be, we look at an African-American quarterback and just assume, run. I'm not being funny. I'm being like, is that getting in the way of people? I'm not accusing anyone of anything. All I'm saying is, isn't it a little weird in the eyes of some to say, well, if he's an African-American quarterback, he should be able to make play with his leg. I'm not saying that's right, but is that getting in the way of people who are looking at him and not giving him the benefit of the doubt? Because if it was a white quarterback that couldn't make plays with his legs, we'd be like, well, that makes sense. He's not very fast, right? Not saying it's right. I'm not saying anything racist. Don't cancel me. I'm not trying to get canceled here. I don't think I'm that far off in saying that could that be getting in the way of some people who look at an African-American quarterback and say, why the hell can't he make a play with his legs? It's not right. All I'm saying is don't act like that doesn't play a role in this.
You're probably right, but I do remember in last year's national championship game against Alabama, Mac Jones picked up a 10-yard run.
And we all saw how he walked on the draft night when he walked up to the stage.
So, you know why he picked up that 10 yards? Because everybody was covered and there was clear grass in front of him, and he picked it up. Because the role as a quarterback is to get the first down. Mm-hmm. Keep getting first downs. Of course we want you to throw the ball. Of course. But hey, if everybody's covered and you got grass in front of you, just go get the grass. Just go get it. Mac Jones did it. Baker Mayfield does it. Every quarterback out there does it. I mean, everybody does it. If he's just like basically refusing to run the ball at all, that's a problem. That's a problem. Like, look, man, it's not that big of a deal. Nobody's asking you to be out here running the Ravens offense. Mm-hmm. Nobody's asking you to do that.
When I brought that up earlier, I knew that's where I was going to go. But then I started sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, it's, that's the only thing I could think of, not for everybody. I'm not saying like that's why you're looking at him and saying, well, why can't he make a play with it? But you have to wonder if sometimes that perception is what's leading to, I think, the venom being spewed towards him. Because I'm like, I just don't have a problem with him not being able to make plays with his legs if that's not who he is. And clearly that wasn't him in high school. So why would it be here? But in what you're saying, we're not saying he needs to be a scramble guy, that he needs to pick up, 10 yards every time that he rolls right or something. But you're talking about just simple little plays like, hey, you drop back the line, your offensive line opens a path for you. Your receivers are covered. Why are you holding on to it? Why are you holding and standing back there waiting for the deep pressure to get to you? So no, I definitely see what you're saying. There's somewhere in the middle, but 518-1410. Yeah, so we'll be back in a moment. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine, OGW Energy Resources, and Tim's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. We'll be back in a moment.
Okay.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Lowe's Provember event is back, and we're thanking pros like you all month long with buy one, get one free deals on select DeWalt power tools and top values like a Spider 2-pack of 4.5-inch diamond cutoff wheels for $14.98. Join us for Provember, going on now through November 24th. Shop in-store or at Lowe's.com/Provember. Lowe's, the new home for pros. While supplies last, U.S. only, valid 10/28 through 11/24.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
It's not just boughs of holly that are going to deck your halls this holiday season. It's you decking the whole house with outdoor lights and holiday decor from the Home Depot. Fill your yard with Yuletide treasure like a hand-painted LED reindeer sculpture. Want to build a snowman? You can, with our 6-foot sparkling snowman covered in lights. You can even pair it with a Disney inflatable Sven. You know, from the movie your kids still watch 3 times a day. 'Tis the season to make things jolly, and the Home Depot has everything you need to make the holidays yours. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
When you needed your mom, she was always there with the Vicks Vapor Rub. She used that soothing scent to calm you. And her mom used it to calm her. And her mom, well, you get the idea. Vicks Vapor Rub's always been there. It always made you feel better. And today, it still does. Bring back those childhood memories with the comfort and care only Vicks Vapor Rub can bring. Vicks Vapor Rub, family tradition for a reason.
Germain Honda, Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer. For a limited time, get 0% financing on the 21 Passport, the 22 Pilot, and HRV, or 1.9% for 48 months on the 22 Odyssey. Lease a 22 HRV Sport for as little as $229 a month, or a CRV Hybrid EX for as little as $279 a month. See me, Sales Manager Jason High, for all the details. We are located on Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda, Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I hope to see you soon.
Finding the right Medicare plan may feel impossible, but now it's anything but. With Walgreens Find RX coverage tool, you can compare plans online, over the phone, or in person, making Medicare easier than ever. Easier than picking which true crime doc to watch, figuring out that Wi-Fi password, or putting the duvet cover back on. So if you can do those things, with Find RX coverage, you can definitely Medicare. Find the plan that's right for you by visiting walgreens.com/Medicare.
Welcome back to the quickest podcast ever, brought to you by Kohl's. Today's topic, Black Friday. I've been training for it all year. Like a marathon? Pretty much. The deals are here, so I've made my list. Checked it twice. Yep. And mapped out the best gifts, like sneakers for my husband, toys for my kids, a cozy throw for my sister, and for me, not telling. There's even an extra 15% off, and you can get Kohl's cash. So you'll go back for more. I've taught you so well. Select styles, select deals valid through November 10th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
From city streets to back roads, from road warrior to carpooler, there are some things you can always count on, like the reliability, durability, and power of DieHard, America's most trusted auto battery. No matter where your journey takes you, count on DieHard to get you started on the road ahead. Available at your local Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest stores.
Finding the right Medicare plan may feel impossible, but now it's anything but. With Walgreens Find RX coverage tool, you can compare plans online, over the phone, or in person, making Medicare easier than ever. Easier than picking which true crime doc to watch, figuring out that Wi-Fi password, or putting the duvet cover back on. So if you can do those things, with Find RX coverage, you can definitely Medicare. Find the plan that's right for you by visiting walgreens.com/Medicare.
Welcome back to the quickest podcast ever, brought to you by Kohl's. Today's topic, Black Friday. I've been training for it all year. Like a marathon? Pretty much. The deals are here, so I've made my list. Checked it twice. Yep. And mapped out the best gifts, like sneakers for my husband, toys for my kids, a cozy throw for my sister, and for me, not telling. There's even an extra 15% off, and you can get Kohl's cash. So you'll go back for more. I've taught you so well. Select styles, select deals valid through November 10th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street are huge supporters of the Dayton Flyers. Whether you're one of the 13,000 fans cheering on the Flyers at UD Arena or one of the hundreds of fans packed inside Tim's on game day, there is only two places that you can feel the passion of the Flyer faithful more than anywhere else. Timothy's Bar and Grill is also a sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash in the afternoons and the Talking Out Loud Hour on Thursday nights with Sully. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Go Flyers.
The holidays are already here at Lowe's. Get pre-lit artificial trees starting at $99. Home to any budget, home to any possibility. While supplies last, valid 11/4 through 11/10.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now.
Touchdown! Incredible!
Good luck. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, welcome back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410. Wing AM. College basketball. The season tips off tonight. Keep in mind a couple of top headlines we're going to be keeping an eye out for. Odell Beckham Jr., where does he end up? The Green Bay Packers apparently is his number one destination that he would love to end up with. And, don't blame him one bit as far as that's concerned. The Browns and guard Wyatt Teller have reached an agreement on a 4-year contract extension. This is huge for the Browns moving forward as they lay that foundation, of course, with Nick Chubb and that offensive line. Got some Nick Chubb news coming up here in a moment as well. But Wyatt Teller was slated to be a free agent after the season, and now the Browns have him under contract through 2025. Browns running back Nick Chubb also has tested positive for COVID-19, and his status for Sunday's game versus the Patriots is in jeopardy. Chubb, because he's vaccinated, would have to provide 2 negative tests between now and Saturday to be able to be available for the Browns coming up on Sunday. The Wright State Raiders tip off the season tonight at the Nutter Center, Lake Erie, 7 p.m. The tip-off. The Raiders tip off the 2021 season here in Dayton as well. Also here in Dayton, the Dayton Flyers, they welcome in Horizon League foe. No, not the Wright State Raiders because they're too afraid to do so. But the Dayton Flyers welcome in the UIC Flames tonight at 7 p.m. at UD Arena. I like to provide that dig about the Wright State matchup, but that's just what I do. But I am looking forward to hearing and seeing a packed UD Arena tonight. Again, it's been over 600 days since fans were able to take in a game at UD Arena or taking the Flyers at UD Arena, so I'm pretty excited for that. I know Flyer fans are pretty jacked about that as well. How about that? You could tell Flyer fans were amped for the season. The entire 2021-2022 season sold out already, Kev. Like, that's pretty impressive stuff. If you think back to when sports technically officially started this year, like with college football kicking off and the NFL and everything, a lot of reports were coming out, the NHL and some others, that there was a lot of attendance issues, that that a lot of places were caught off guard by how difficult it was to fill up these stadiums and venues for the college football season. Remember the shoe?
Yeah.
The shoe had some issues at the beginning of the season filling up, in college football, a lot of stadiums around the NFL, around the college football, same thing, had issues, with attendance. I think that's kind of evened out now, but at the time it was a little startling. Like, you thought, man, been without sports for this long, you have a chance to go, and people were slow and hesitant to start filling up these venues again. But that hasn't been an issue. The NHL had a lot of issues early on. I think that number was distorted. Keep in mind, you have a lot of teams in Canada. Canada's rules were a lot, they had more restrictions in place. So I thought that people were making a bigger deal about the NHL capacity issues that, way too much, because I'm like, well, that's an average number. So NHL attendance is down 20%. I'm like, yes, but you have a lot of teams in Canada that they're not going full capacity. So, of course, that's going to bring the average attendance down. But for college basketball, we don't know how that's going to look yet. But UD Arena is setting the tone, saying, hey, we went 600 days without watching the Flyers at UD Arena. We are ready to go. UD Arena will be packed tonight with the UIC Flames in town. Ohio State, the Buckeyes on the basketball side of things. Of course, we'll be talking about the football side of things tonight with the college football playoff reveal. We'll talk about that with ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz coming up about 35 minutes from now. But Ohio State has Akron at the Schottenstein Center tonight, 6 p.m. The tip-off, 5:15 the pregame. That'll interrupt the back half of our show. But That's going on in Columbus tonight. You can also catch the Buckeyes basketball right here on 1410 ESPN Radio, 5:15. Pregame coverage begins. So CJ Stroud only has 5 total rushing yards on the season. He was quoted as saying earlier in the week, or towards coming out of the weekend, that he doesn't understand what all the criticism is about, that his job's to throw the ball. He's a quarterback. If his job was to run the ball, he'd be a running back. And of course that pissed everybody off. And, people questioning his maturity. You can question his maturity. I don't think that comment is why he's immature. Do you agree or disagree with that? Is that comment what makes him immature? I thought people are being a little too harsh on the kid, saying that, that's just his immaturity speaking. Or this is a kid that's not used to being This is a kid that has never really had the pressure on him to run the ball. And now everyone's like, run the ball. And he's like, what the hell? I've always played this way. I've always been a kick-ass passer. I've never been a great rusher. Now you want me to be a great rusher? And he's like, what the hell, guys? Like, I'm not a running back. That's what Trevion Henderson's for. I need to throw the ball. That's why we have the best receiving core in football. Why would I try to run and take away opportunities from them? But it's all about balance, meeting somewhere in the middle. You're not asking for these plays to be drawn up for him to scramble and average 50, 60 yards rushing a game. But he definitely, as we head into the final 3 weeks of the regular season, should not only have 5 total rushing yards on the year.
Things are going to tighten up defensively. I know how great our receiving core is, but, the Sparty defense, they tighten things up, force you to do things that you don't want to do. Also, Michigan's defense is pretty solid as well. And then going into, hopefully, the college football playoff, the defense is going to be ratcheted up there. So there's going to be opportunities for him to make plays with his legs if he chooses to, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Shout out to Duncan, by the way. Got my coffee. Got, double energy shots in there, by the way. I need that to put up with callers like Charlie earlier, by the way. 518-1410, by the way. Thoughts on CJ Stroud and the conversation at hand. I don't think his approach is going to, although it did kind of hurt them against Nebraska, made them vulnerable. I can say that. I want to sit here and say I don't think it's that big a deal. Not trying to take the opposite side of everybody else on purpose here, but I can see why it's a concern, because at the end of the day, it's one thing to have that approach against, in Nebraska, a good Michigan State team. But when you go up against the great teams in the playoffs, they're going to have to rely on him being versatile, that he's going to have to find ways to make plays, whether it's on the ground or through the air. Georgia, you think that they're not going to, I'm not saying they're going to lock up Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and company. I'm not saying that they won't be a factor, but it's not going to be 2-3-step drop release and keep moving the ball up and down the field. Right. Georgia is going to take away a lot of those looks, and it's going to be up to CJ Stroud to find ways to make plays. And that's really what it's going to come down to. Any means necessary. You got to get the ball into the end zone at any means necessary. And if that means putting your body in harm's way, you got to do it. And you got to do it. That's just the reality of it. 518-1410. Kev, we got Alan. Where's Alan?
Line 3.
Line 3 is Alan. Alan, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good.
I'm just thinking, I think Ohio State this year, and particularly CJ Stroud, we're playing too much for touchdowns and not first downs. Minnesota, our opener, is the perfect example. I think our shortest touchdown was like 40 yards or something, which is great against Minnesota. That's fine, or Akron or whoever. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the season, I think CJ Stroud is going to have to decide he's going to run the football and pick up first downs when we need him to. And I'm not saying we need to be running read options on 4th and 1. But when the pocket collapses, and against teams like Michigan, it's going to collapse sometimes. We have a great offensive line, but their defensive front they're talented. And so when it collapses, he's going to have to be willing to run for those first downs, because we're not going to be scoring 3 50-yard touchdowns against Michigan. We got to pick up first downs.
Any means necessary, right? And it's like if you're leaving first downs on the table, because and that's why I could see the criticism towards Stroud being warranted, because Stroud's not. If Stroud was coming out saying, "Hey guys, look, I'm a pass first quarterback. I'm always going to look to make the play in the air first," but he didn't word it like that. He was basically, it seems like he doubled down on, "Hey, I only have 5 total yards rushing. I'm not running the ball," and people are frustrated because there's too many examples of a first down to be had 5-7 yards in front of him, and he just won't tuck it and run, and that's what's leading to a lot of frustration. It's not about changing his philosophy to be a running quarterback. It's just about using some common sense and picking up a damn first down when it's right in front of you. That's going to cost them some games. And honestly, it made them vulnerable against the Nebraska team that they had no business being in a one-possession game with down the stretch like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not asking us to run the Justin Fields offense. I'm not asking him to be Justin Fields. He's not Justin Fields. That's fine. He's a pocket passer. That's how he's played so far, and I'm fine with that. Pocket passers can win championships. Joe Burrow did, but when Joe Burrow and LSU needed a first down and the pocket collapsed and he rolled out, he was willing to run 3 yards, pick up a first down, move the chains, and then he could drop back again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. Hey, Alan, I appreciate the call and your take on that. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for taking it.
518-1410. Shout out to Alan. I think that's a first-time caller right there. So hopefully we didn't scare him off. I treat everybody kindly.
Nah.
He was doing fine until he brought up Joe Burrow, and then I was like, all right, he's lost all credibility at this point.
I knew
Thank
it was
you,
on
Alan.
that every time.
It's the Justin Kinner Show. I know we have Shaw on hold. Who else we got on hold?
We got Adam on line 4.
Adam and Shaw and Mike and Eric and a few others. We'll go in that order when we come back. Don't go anywhere. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Hour 2. Coming up next, 29 minutes from now, we'll talk with ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. Tonight, the second college football playoff rankings for the 2021 season will be released. Michigan State, the only team in the top 4 to go down over the weekend, which means there's a spot up for grabs. Will the Buckeyes just move up one slot with their narrow win over Nebraska? Well, Bearcat fans say, hey, they barely beat Nebraska, all while ignoring the fact that they barely escaped Tulsa. But the good news for the Bearcats is they honestly do have a chance to crack the top 4 tonight. I don't think it's likely, but I think what helped the Bearcats, Kev, is the fact that they weren't the only ones that had ugly wins over the weekend. I mean, it was an ugly weekend. Actually, when you looked at that schedule, I was like, this is a throwaway weekend. I don't care about college football. To be fair, some of the worst matchups Saturdays have actually provided some of the best games or results, right? I mean, no one thought, when Purdue and Iowa played, that game was going to matter. No one thought that Purdue was going to, again, get another upset victory the way they did. They're looking for another one this coming up Saturday with the Buckeyes. But we'll talk about that in Hour 2 with ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. But 518-1410, we're available on Facebook as well. Search the Justin Kinner Show and jump in with Kev and I. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
I'm with Dr. Sharon Parsons, past president of the Ohio Dental Association. Soft teeth run in my family, so going to the dentist won't help, right?
Actually, your family history does not necessarily determine whether you'll get cavities or develop gum disease. Your own behavior can prevent dental disease. By regularly seeing a dentist and brushing twice a day, flossing once a day, and avoiding tobacco products and sugary foods and drinks, you can put yourself on the right path to having healthy teeth and gums for a lifetime.
ODA member dentists are located throughout the state, are dedicated to providing the highest quality care, are bound by the highest ethical standards, and obtain superior ongoing education and training. On your next visit, ask if your dentist is a member of the Ohio Dental Association and American Dental Association, so you know you're being treated by the best. To find an ODA dentist in your area, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
I'm one of thousands of women with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body.
I'm living in the moment and taking Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for postmenopausal women or for men with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy.
Be in your moment. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com.
Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
If you are push mowing your yard using an inefficient lawn tractor, or your current zero-turn spends more time in the shop than mowing your grass, it's time you look at the Hustler zero-turn lawnmower. Residential mowers from Hustler are built like tanks and drive like sports cars. All Hustler mowers have fabricated welded steel decks. Don't settle on cheap units with flimsy stamped decks from big box stores. See Small Engine Service Pros, and we'll guide you to the right mower for your property and your budget. 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle.
It's Dell Technologies' biggest business sale of the year with Black Friday early access deals on Windows 11 PCs. Call 877-ASK-DELL. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Great night if you're a college basketball fan. Again, the Wright State Raiders tip off the season tonight. Lake Erie at the Nutter Center, 7 o'clock to tip off. Dayton Flyers have a team out of the Horizon League, of course, as they so love to do. That's not the Wright State Raiders. They're taking on the UIC Flames. They're a 14-point favorite. UD wins. I don't think they cover. And if you ask me why I don't think that, I have no reason.
I was just about to ask you that.
Just for the pure satisfaction that I'll get of them narrowly beating a Horizon League school, I'll just fuel that narrative that they're afraid to play the actual good team in that conference. I'm just throwing that out there. But regardless of my opinion on Dayton not playing Wright State, Dayton's a good basketball team. They're going to win some games this year, of course, and a lot of unknowns, a lot of excitement. Deron Holmes, excited to see that kid play. If they would have been able, it's funny. You see that Ty Washington. Now, he was the kid that was committed to Creighton on the same team with Deron Holmes. And there's a lot of talk that, man, if UD can get him, that'd be huge to put him with Holmes. And then that core right there, he ended up picking Kentucky.
Right.
And for the first time I saw the name, image, and likeness role really, I think the name, image, and likeness thing is not going to impact schools like Wright State. I think it's going to really impact schools like UD. Ty Washington got like some deal with like Cadillac, if I'm not mistaken. Like he is just making bank, and he is getting all these endorsements because he's at Kentucky. And that's the thing. Like, so a lot of times you'll get these kids that are, do you go to Kentucky and split a lot of minutes and blend in with the other star players there, or do you pick a school like Dayton that you can go be the guy at? And I think that Anthony Grant has the Flyers at the point where on the recruiting trail, the kids like Ty Washington, that without name, image, and likeness, I think UD would be the route to go, because UD gets a lot of attention despite not being the Kentucky and Dukes and North Carolinas of the world. And to go there and be the guy, I mean, look at Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin, had he had that season with Kentucky, it would have been a big deal.
Right.
But it would have just been another Kentucky star, and it would have been like, oh, yeah, that's Kentucky. They get those guys. Obi Toppin was huge in college basketball, but he was even bigger because of who he was doing it for. And you've got to argue that Obi Toppin doesn't win National Player of the Year if he plays at Kentucky. And the reason is because his stats wouldn't have been what they were, because you would have more stars to kind of share the rock with. You wouldn't have had the same opportunities, same looks. Doesn't mean that Obi would have been any less of a player. You know what I mean? Like, it just wouldn't have been as big of a story. And I think Obi at Dayton is what made him such a big deal. And I think that had name, image, and likeness not been a big deal, or not have become a thing at this point, Ty Washington maybe leans towards a Dayton, right? Like, he goes to Dayton and he's the guy at Dayton, as opposed to going to Kentucky and he's one of many guys at Kentucky. But I think what makes it worth it is, hey, I get to wear the blue. I get all these damn endorsements. I'm making bank, and I'm at Kentucky, and I think that's really what it comes down to. I don't think it's going to hurt schools like Wright State, because Wright State, the guys that are going to make real big money in the name, image, and likeness era, no offense to Wright State, but those guys they're not looking at Wright State. They're not going to Wright State. They are thinking about Dayton. Dayton's in a lot of final lists and final options for guys. But I think the name, image, and likeness is honestly going to hurt them more than it's going to hurt the smaller schools. I kept hearing all year, oh, man, Wright State, they're really, the Horizon League, the MAC schools, those are the teams that are going to really be hurt by name, image, and likeness. I'm like, not really. I think it honestly hurts those fringe, teams that aren't mid-major, but they're not high major. They're that in between. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the Dayton Flyers. But I'm not saying Ty Washington would have gone to UD if it wasn't for name, image, and likeness. But you would have to think that Kentucky, it's kind of ironic that the schools like Duke reloaded again.
Yep.
I don't think I don't think that it's not a coincidence that the name, image, and likeness becomes a thing. And all of a sudden, Kentucky, this is the best class that they've had at Kentucky since the Anthony Davis class, which was how long ago? So that's not you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that that's the case. Same thing with Duke. I think a lot of your traditional powers are going to reload back up because they're going to have more money and resources than anybody else. That's all.
Yeah, their fan bases are rabid, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of the fan base are business owners in those cities and everything like that. So they have money to spend and willing to, help their program get back on track. And if that help, quote unquote, correlates to getting a supremely talented student athlete on campus, especially in basketball, they're willing to do it. Who knows what this name, image, and likeness deal that he has? It could be, hey man, we're going to let you lease a car or hold a car for your time here at Kentucky and everything like that. That's a lot of things you don't have to worry about. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, I got a car. It's better than a 87 Honda Civic like I had when I was in college. You know what I mean? You got something fresh off the lot. That's pretty cool. I know there's a lot of car dealerships here in Dayton. Won't give any shout outs, but hey, step up to the plate. You want some of these top quality athletes to come to UD or Wright State? Hey man, dial them up. Tell them that you let them get a car too. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is going to take a community effort to get some of these high level student athletes on these campuses, man, because, the schools like Kentucky, Kansas, and Duke, think about it, like all those schools last year, for whatever reason, we can say it was a COVID year or whatever, all of them had down years. And they're not used to having down years. They want to be back. They want to be back in that spotlight. They want to be back on TV all the time. They want to be back on talking about number one seed. They want to be talking about deep runs into March Madness. So they're willing to do whatever. You know what I'm saying? The whole community is invested in it.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, it's not a coincidence that the powers that have been kind of up and down over the last 5 years have their best recruiting classes in quite a while. Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, and that's the thing. I think and Kansas is loaded this year. Mm-hmm. By the way, Kansas is going to be stacked. It's Michigan, really, really good. The Dickinson kid, is it Dickinson or whatever? Yeah. The 8-foot tall tree that they're going to have.
Came back to school for some strange reason.
Freshman last year, going to be even better as a sophomore. Might be his last year at Michigan. Who knows? But the point is that's a Purdue looking guy right there. Purdue's usually the team with the trees down low. And by the way, they have trees too. It's amazing. Something about Purdue. If you are near 7-footer and a big tall tree, usually Purdue is where, for whatever reason, that seems to be the program that they gravitate towards. But so we'll see how that all pans out. But yeah, that's when I saw that Ty Washington thing. I was like, man, that was a kid that everyone was hoping would go to UD. Would have loved him at UD. But keep in mind, I'm not saying that this is what tipped the scales in Kentucky's favor, because Kentucky, you would have to think, doesn't need a whole lot of help of selling that program.
Right.
But I do think what puts Kentucky back on the map as being the premier spot, along with Duke and others, is the fact that, hey, they have more money and resources than anybody else. And you're saying, well, it's not their money going to the player. Yeah, like any school is against pushing some funds to a little local business that then goes backdoor into the pocket. And now they could do that. By the way, they've always done that. Now they could just do it legally.
Yeah.
Legally. My favorite stories about no, I don't know if I'm not allowed to tell that.
Don't do it.
Not allowed to tell that.
No
one.
dry snitching.
I can't remember if he said I'm allowed to tell that one or not. So I'm just going to be cool. But there's my favorite stories are those sketchy recruiting stories, man. Like, those are my favorite ones, because people get, oh man, it's dirty. College sports is dirt. It's a business.
Big business.
So it's what it is. 518-1410, talking about CJ Stroud. Some people were, still upset. That's what we were talking about earlier. David M on YouTube says, Stroud's comment is only a concern if he's unwilling to move around in the pocket and chooses to take a sack over stepping up and running for a few positive yards, whether it be to pick up a first or what have you. David goes on to say that being more willing to take a sack 10 yards behind the line rather than running for 3 to 5 positive yards would be a problem. Are there many examples of that being the case, Kev?
The biggest one happened last week versus Nebraska. You're only up 3 points. You're in the pocket. You're rolling. You're looking. You fumble. and we're only up 3 points. Remind you, if a DB scoops that up, they're taking it all the way the other way for 6 to take the lead in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to play. That's why people are upset.
And what's crazy, it's another example of Ohio State's worst days offensively have still come with 500 total yards offense. That Tulsa game that everyone was ready to fire Ryan Day over, which, by the way, we have not heard from interim coach Mikey since then. Mikey, we're putting out the Mikey signal. If you still exist out there, we'd love to hear from you, man, because, I need you to call in and apologize for that ridiculous take about calling Ryan Day an interim coach. I mean, that's still, we've heard from a lot of crazy people. I have a lot of crazy takes, but at the end of the day, that's the craziest one we've heard. Like, there you go. I mean, Mikey, you need to call in and apologize. 518-1410. Dial it up, Mikey. We need to hear from you. You need to apologize to Coach Ryan Day for that blasphemous take. Even though Ryan Day, maybe this isn't the week, because this is probably the most criticism Ryan Day's faced since that Tulsa game. But even the Tulsa struggles, Kev, they still had 500 total yards offense. They won by 3 touchdowns. Like, that's a bad day at the office for Ohio State when that happens. So interesting.
Just a little OBJ news. He went unclaimed through waivers.
Yep. And now he gets to pick, and that's actually good for the Browns because they now get $3 million back, which is kind of nice because they just spent a nice little pretty penny on Wyatt Teller today. So whether that goes to him or maybe that $3 million is what they pay Baker Mayfield with. Baker Mayfield will sign a 5-year, $3 million contract. It is amazing to me, Kev, that the hate for that dude has led people to say blasphemous things like, I wouldn't pay him more than 30. I'm like, do you realize that? I mean, who's the low? That's not on a rookie deal. I would love to know who's the lowest paid starting quarterback in the NFL. That is not starting due to injury, by the way. Like, right. Russell Wilson's out.
Probably Jameis. No,
Jameis Winston.
Probably Jameis.
He signed that because he did the 1-year deal with the Saints, but he signed another deal in the offseason.
Yeah, but it wasn't like busting heads or anything like that. But
it might have been another
Teddy Bridgewater's deal was the deal that he signed as a free agent after he left the Saints to go to Carolina, and they traded for him. So whatever that contract was, I think it was somewhere. I think it was getting like a 4-year for $28 million, something like that, something close to that. But I think Jameis' deal was something almost like 2 years, like $20 million, something close to that.
But see, sometimes and again,
that's a prove-it contract.
And thank you, because Baker is going to get a legitimate starting quarterback contract.
$35 million.
He's going to get a legitimate starting quarterback. So Teddy Bridgewater is a starter in the NFL right now. There's still a ton of talk that Aaron Rodgers is going to be in Denver when it's all said and done. Teddy Bridgewater is not getting paid legitimate starting quarterback money, so we can't use that. You know what I mean? I heard someone say that the other day that, he's going to be getting paid, down at the bottom with those quarterbacks. I'm like, look, those quarterbacks aren't even terrible, but they're not going to be the face of a franchise moving forward. A lot of those quarterbacks are bridge quarterbacks. Jameis Winston in New Orleans is technically a bridge quarterback between him and himself. He could be playing. And by the way, the Saints are playing really good football. That's what makes his injury so devastating he only had like 5 interceptions on the year.
He was playing good football.
It's not, the bad quarterbacks throw a lot of interceptions. Who leads the league in interceptions? I can't get, if I can get a clue, who leads the league in interceptions? That's right. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, he has the most interceptions. It was pretty impressive on Sunday. I was waiting for people to complain and say Joe Burrow completed a pass to the Browns before Baker Mayfield did this past Sunday, which was the case, actually. 518-1410. Let's go to, where's Adam? Kev, 4? Adam, how are you, sir? Welcome in.
Adam is gone.
Adam out. Let's go to Shaw. Shaw, how are you, sir?
Not bad. How about you guys?
Living the dream.
Oh, so is it any way possible that Day is telling Stroud not to run?
I don't know. We're ripping Day, but at the same time, if Day knows that he can't run the ball, why would you drop a play for him to run the ball? So I could defend Day from that perspective. But if his inability to run the ball is what's actually hurting the team, then is Kyle McCord that much worse? Is Kyle McCord that much worse if Jack Miller, who's not making boneheaded decisions off the field, getting behind the damn wheel drunk or whatever, is he that much worse than Stroud? I don't think Stroud's bad, but if his inability to run is hurting the offense, can Jack Miller run? Can Kyle McCord run? That has to be something that needs to be considered, although I'm not really clamoring for a quarterback. Willing. Willing. That's a good point.
Well, my only thing about it is the shoulder. Like, we don't really know how bad the shoulder is, and I'm not really bashing on Day per se. I'm just saying, is he in the room with him saying, "Hey, we don't need you to be getting extra hits on that shoulder right now"? I'm not saying down the road that they don't open him up to run, but I'm just saying kind of like right now, like just we don't need the extra hits on the shoulder.
No, and that's totally fine. No, I see what you're saying. And that's what I was trying to say earlier is, that's why I said earlier about, I think CJ Stroud's doubling down in these press conferences because he believes he's doing the right thing. And the reason he believes he's doing the right thing is it's probably the messages that he's getting from the people in front of him or like in charge of him, right? Like the coaches are probably, saying, hey, that's not who you are. Don't do that. But I have a hard time believing that Ryan Day is saying, hey, if there's a first down right in front of you, get it? I have a hard time believing that Ryan Day is telling him don't get it, but I know what you're saying.
I agree with that. How far do you think Sparty falls?
The problem is it's very tough to fill out a top. Keith Byers and I were talking about this the other day, trying to do a top 10. After you get past 7, it's like they all just kind of blend in right there. From 8 on back. The gap isn't that big. They could be as far as 8 all the way back out of the top 10. I have no idea, but they didn't just get beat. They broke the rule. You can get beat. You can't get blown out. That's why Michigan was still ranked as high as they were, because they didn't break the rule. You're allowed to lose. You're not allowed to get blown out. Ohio State didn't break the rule. They lost, but they didn't get blown out. That rule is a legitimate rule, although they never come out and say it, but history shows you're allowed to lose, but you can't get blown out. No team has ever made the playoff losing by more than 2 possessions.
That was something I wasn't thinking about beforehand. I completely forgot about that because before the call, I had Oklahoma staying still, Michigan staying still, and basically slotting in Sparty right there above them, and then everybody else moves up one spot.
And that very well could be the case, but I do think what will hurt Michigan State is the fact that they got blown out. That's why people were so mad about how far Iowa dropped back when they lost the first time, because it's not just that they lost, it's that they Purdue kicked their ass. That's what was crazy about that. So I think that Michigan State, you're right, they could sit there at 8, but I would not be surprised to see them fall out of the top 10.
Yeah, that was like I said, that was an aspect of it I wasn't even thinking about. Question for Kev.
Yes, sir.
What's Q's going to be like this year on the hardwood?
Man, listen, if Joe Girard can stop with the turnovers, they'll be pretty good. They got a ton of shooters, not just the coach's kid, but he even got his oldest son to transfer there. They got another transfer from Villanova that shot over 45% from 3. So they're going to be able to score because they're going to be able to shoot, but I don't know what they got on the inside. The big man who came back for his senior year tore his knee up again, so they got to be out there with a freshman or like a sophomore playing center. So if he can run his own defense and get some rebounds and kick it out to shooters, they'll be good. If not, they'll be a bubble team yet again.
I hadn't heard that he tore his knee up again.
Yeah,
because I always look at that game being a Duke fan. I always look at that game as being a.
Oh, you're a Duke fan?
Yes, sir.
Look at you and Kenner got something in common.
I hate Duke.
Fun fact, I went to that first matchup with Syracuse and Duke up there at the Carrier Dome when they first got into the ACC. Good times. We won that game, by the way.
What I was going to say, wasn't that the one? Didn't you guys win that one at the buzzer?
Went into overtime. That was Jabari Parker's freshman and only year at Duke. We won that game, by the way. Did I mention that? Go Cuse.
Yeah, I know. You guys have beat us up there more than we beat you up there.
Let's go.
But
Let's go.
I still remember Boeheim running across the court at Coach K court. So
that was a blocking foul. That wasn't a charge on CJ Fair, by the way. A terrible call.
Should we talk about Boeheim's biggest charge?
Oh, here we go.
No.
Here we go. Don't this dude, man.
What?
This dude.
Did he back up? Did he back up over him?
Yeah,
too?
can Boeheim back up his?
Oh man, the disrespect.
Shaw, hey, we're out of time. I hate to rush you off, but we got Jason Fitz coming up, man.
I got it, brothers. You guys have a good day.
Peace.
518-14. Ugh, him and I. Ugh, getting along. Ugh, yuck. But hey, when it comes to making those jokes, whatever. It's actually not funny. I have no clue why I even do that.
Wow. So foul.
It's a good way to get in trouble right there. Not that I need any help with that, but I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah. Just check your mentions.
No. 518-1410. Is this who I think it is? Hold up. I got to rev this thing up. Wait, is this who I think it is?
It is.
See, it's funny how when you put out the signal.
We literally have 2 minutes.
We have 2 minutes. Check. Mikey, is this you?
Buckle up.
It's me. You sent out the bat signal, so I had to answer.
And you showed up on time, my friend.
Alfred, my butler, came up to me and whispered in my ear, "Sir, it's the bat signal."
Well, there you go.
The backbone. But anyway, it's been a long time since I watched Batman. But anyway, let me clarify what I meant by interim, okay? Now, not every coach that lasts 3, 4, or 5 years sets out to be an interim coach. There are a number of coaches. Look at Archie Miller. I think you could classify him as an interim coach. What was it, 4 years? And he fell flat on his face?
If any school out there pays someone the money he got paid to be an interim coach, and if anyone actually pays the the money to leave a school, that wasn't an interim coach, Mikey. I know you got your own definition, but that's not how schools view an interim coach.
That's basically okay. Let's say the next coach they get is going to be great. Okay, so you sandwich him in between the Knight era and then this next coach, whoever he may be, and he wins maybe 1 or 2 national championships. Basically, Miller was an interim coach sandwiched in between the 2 great eras. I'll use a baseball example. What was the baseball manager's name before Sparky? I can't think of his name now. Schlemmer would know. Do you know who I'm talking about?
You can do it.
I can't think of it. Dave Bristol. Mm-hmm. Dave Bristol was there. He was sandwiched in between Fred Hutchinson and Sparky Anderson, the 2 great managers. Okay, he was basically there on an interim basis.
No.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was because let me explain to you. He had that same team. Wait a minute, for about 3 or 4 years, he had that same team Sparky had and did nothing with them. When Sparky came along, boom, they won the National League West and the National League pennant.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't make him an interim coach. It just means that he didn't do a good job coaching.
And that is. So let me ask you, what's the difference? That's about as interim as you're going to get.
What's the difference between a bad coach and an interim coach?
Neither one lasts long.
Holy moly! But that's not an interim coach. No.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's all that he amounted to. And it's the same thing. It's like we don't know, for instance, how whether Ryan Day is going to be at Ohio State 3 or 4 or 5 years from now. He could, once he starts doing his own recruiting, getting his own players, and removes himself from the Urban Meyer era, he could fall flat on his face like Archie Miller did.
I mean, Archie Miller, it didn't work out at Indiana, but he was not an interim coach at Indiana. And Archie Miller's still a good basketball coach. Archie Miller will get another job and do a very good job. But you don't
know that.
Look, what do you mean I don't know that? No one knows.
You don't know that. You don't know.
Like, the bottom line is, Mikey, is at the end of the day, based on your definition, every coach in the history of sports is an interim coach then, because nobody will be the coach forever.
Well, I'm talking about longevity, Justin. Longevity.
Well, that's fine. You can talk about longevity all you want. The longevity of this.
I mean, Adolph Rupp was at UK.
The problem, because at the end of the day, that's not what an interim coach is.
Let me give you another example. And this guy was a great coach.
You want. That doesn't make him an interim coach.
But nobody ever sets out to be an interim coach. Even Luke Fickell did not set out to be an interim coach.
Luke Fickell was the exact definition of an interim coach for Ohio State.
But he didn't set out to be that, though, Justin. In fact, he had thoughts about applying for the Ohio State job.
Listen, I'm sure Luke Fickell would have loved to have been the head coach longer at Ohio State, but Ohio State never looked at him as the long-term solution in Columbus. That he was a bridge coach. He was the true definition of an interim coach. Luke Fickell was the true definition of a real coach at Cincinnati. But
I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you.
But not every big job comes up, and then he's gone.
But here's my point, Justin. But he did, and I said this earlier. He did not set out to be an interim coach. He had thoughts about kicking ass on that season, and maybe making a name for himself and then getting the job himself.
And had he done that, maybe the interim tag changes to a permanent coach.
But not everybody wants to be.
He was an interim coach for the first year. Let's say he had success, and Ohio State signed him to a 5-year deal, and then he loses for 2 and loses his job. Based on your definition, he would still be the interim coach, and that's not accurate.
For all intents and purposes, that is all he was. That's all he was. And we don't know what Ryan Day is going to do.
That is what the definition of an interim coach is.
But you guys have jumped on this Ryan Day bandwagon. I'm going to wait and see what he does, because 3 years does not make a great coach.
But
I'm applying the same standard to Anthony Grant. He's been there at UD for 5 years. Let's wait and see.
How much time do you get?
Well, I think you're going to have to have more than just 3 or 4 years. I can tell you that right now.
All right. If you say so. You're wrong, but if you say so.
No, I'm not wrong. I mean, because we don't know how these guys are going to do 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road.
So let me ask you this, Mikey. You're only a great head coach if you win a championship?
It helps. It helps the resume. Most definitely it helps the resume. I mean, sure, they're great coaches. Ed Diddle was a great basketball coach at Western Kentucky for 42 years. He never won a national championship. But Don May and I talked about that one time, and I mentioned that to Don about him not winning a national championship. But Don May said, yeah, but he won a ton of games. Well, he won like 750 games.
Well, coaches don't coach that long anymore. Like dudes move on or they retire. Like this ain't the olden times.
Well, how long has Krzyzewski been at Duke?
Yeah, he's been there for a long time. That I'm saying, he's like the last of a dying breed. Like that type of thing don't happen all the time or happen.
How long was Bobby Knight at Indiana? 30 years.
How long? He's been retired for 20 years.
Well, yeah. No, he was he wasn't retired. He didn't retire from Indiana. He was fired.
No, I'm talking about coaching in general. I know he went to Texas Tech for a couple.
Then he went 6 seasons. Okay, yeah, and then he left. Then he retired. But he left on his own free will. He wasn't fired from Texas Tech. He resigned or retired, whatever you want to call it.
But I'm saying, you see how far back you're going to pull up examples. This is the modern day. This is the modern era. Things change.
You don't consider Dean Smith modern era?
No.
Really? He's an old timer.
That Dean Smith, they won a national championship. Want to say what it was, 93?
Twice. 82 and 93.
Yeah,
and he won an NIT championship in 71.
I'm saying it's 2021.
I understand that.
So
how long has Jim Boeheim been at Syracuse?
Forever in 3 days.
Hit that number and put it on hold, the one that's calling in. So just hit it on the side and hit hold. And I believe that's Jason. We'll get to him in just a second. But Mikey, we got unfinished business here. ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz will join us in a minute, but we got to get Mikey to understand that he is just dead wrong when it comes to the definition of an interim coach.
Jim Boeheim's been at Syracuse for 35, 40 years?
Well, 30 more, and then we'll figure out if he's an interim head coach or not. One more time before we let you go, what is your definition of an interim coach? Because I have no clue. I don't even think you know what you're talking about.
Interim is somebody sandwiched in between two great coaches that's maybe there 3, 4, 5 years, didn't set out to be an interim coach, but maybe gets fired, maybe just quits because he's way over his head in the job or something. That is my definition of interim.
Holy moly. I'm so glad you don't run.
How long do you think you have to be? How long do you think you have to be? Let me ask you guys.
If you're an interim coach or not.
How long do you guys think? How long do you think you have to be at a school?
The prime definition of an interim coach when he took over at Ohio State. When Cincinnati hired him, he was not being viewed as an interim coach. He was being viewed as the guy that was going to come turn Cincinnati football into a thing.
And don't you think he thought the same thing at Ohio State when they took him on as head coach?
I think that he actually knows what the definition of interim coach means.
No, because I think he had thoughts about staying at. He wanted to stay at Ohio State.
Talk to him. Is that what he told you?
No, but he wanted to stay at Ohio. I heard.
Oh, wow.
He wanted to stay at Ohio State.
I don't think that's that big of a stretch that he wanted to stay at Ohio State. By the way.
Well, then you just admitted I was right then about that. Then
I don't know what you do in your free time, but oh my goodness, Mikey. We'll talk later. Adios.
All right, bye.
What the hell? I don't know why. I don't. Which line is Fitz on? Is it 2?
2.
ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. Jason, how are you, sir?
Great. How are you?
Is this Jason?
Yeah.
Jason Fitz?
No, this is Jeremy.
So you're not Jason.
I'm not, but I'm hoping I get. I'm hoping I get.
Holy crap! I don't know what. Are you Jason? Yeah. Is this Jason Fitz? No, it's Jeremy. Huh? We got to get Jason Fitz on the line. We'll be back in a moment. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather. This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 68. Tonight will be mostly cloudy with patchy fog, a low around 45. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy, a high near 64. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces at your home, office, or commercial property. Introducing infrared patching, a new technology for your property. This service and more at culletsealcoating.com.
College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
You gotta be kidding me. And now in that process, we pissed off Jeremy. I don't know who Jeremy is. Poor Jeremy. Jeremy was calling in to give a legitimate sports take, and instead we wasted that time. Not we. Kev had nothing to do with that. I take full responsibility. As the quarterback, it's up to me to decide who we let on and who we let. And I let Mikey hang around to bring the sports IQ down at least a good 100 points. The definition of an interim coach is not like he thinks that based on his definition, me and you are interim. Everyone's an interim, whatever at their job.
Oh, gosh.
Well, when you take over, it's whether you stay there long enough or not. That doesn't even make sense.
He kept digging up to the 60s and 70s.
But he talked to Don May.
Hey, name drop.
We can't argue with the name dropping.
Name drop.
He was all proud, too. He called in. We said the bat signal. Holy moly. Lamar Shelley on Facebook says, Mikey has Justin all flustered. Hell, he has me flustered after that. What the hell? And Jeremy, if you were listening, I apologize. You fell victim. You were a casualty of that chaos that just happened. My bad. But let's go to the 518-14. No, we're not going to the phones. We got to see. I am flustered. I'm all over the place. This is not a good day. Holy moly. Where's Jason Fitz? Which line?
He is on line 2.
ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz here to save the day because the show is off the rails today. How are you, sir? Welcome.
I'm happy to be your interim guest, and I hope that, I can just take advantage of the opportunity.
So with this poor guy named Jeremy, I thought it was you that was on hold. So we bring on, Jason Fitz. We're all excited, and his voice did not sound like yours. I said, "Is this Jason?" And then he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Jason Fitz." And he said, "No, it's Jeremy." And then it got awkward, so we just hung up on him. And you're not supposed to hang up on callers, but I did it anyway. And Jason, you are here to save the day, and that's all that matters.
Jeremy, I'm sorry in advance because I'm not going to be able to top whatever you had, but we'll try.
It wasn't Jeremy's fault. It was some crazy caller named Mikey that doesn't know the definition of interim coach. And look, we only get you once a week. I don't want to waste time with that conversation, but you really are saving the day today. College football playoff rankings, they come out tonight. We'll get to that in a second. But how about the Browns kicking the Bengals' ass over the weekend? How about that, Jason? Or Jeremy? Or whoever?
Yeah, look, I was surprised and, I was sitting there with a group of buddies watching that game saying, are we watching the Bengals just fall apart in front of all of our eyes? Because it felt like what we saw was a really hyper-focused reminder of how good the Browns can be when they are firing on all cylinders. And we also saw a hyper-focused reminder of how sort of easy it is to jump off the Bengals bandwagon for so many people. And look, at the end of the day, Odell Beckham Jr. being gone does not make a team better in my mind, but the Browns are still going to be a very good football team when they run the ball effectively and they're getting smart quarterback play. That all came together, and they reminded you that when they put all that together, they're one of the better teams in the AFC. That's just the way it's going to go this year.
You brought up the name, OBJ. He cleared waivers. Where does he end up?
The New Orleans thing makes too much sense for it not to be real, right? Like, I think a lot of people keep pointing to that, but he's got to go somewhere where he's going to get a bulk of work, not somewhere where they've got 52 guys that are going to get to work. So, I've also seen a lot of people reporting the Packers. I don't think he wants to go somewhere and be the second fiddle, though, right? So, to me, I think the Saints still make the most sense. He's a legend there. He can come and be a rock star in the community. From the day he comes in, he'll be received like a legend. I think that's the one that stands out to me.
So a little bit ago, you had said that you just couldn't. There's no way that a team loses OBJ and somehow is better. And I think that's what made that storyline last week, not really last week, the last 2.5 years so fascinating, is because I can't wrap my head around how you lose an OBJ and become better. But I sit here and it's like the numbers back it up, the results back it up, everything backs it up. I'm agreeing with you and disagreeing with you at the same time. I think that's what has made this such a dividing topic of people just taking sides, because it just doesn't make sense. How can you add an elite wide receiver to a roster and they get worse? That's never happened. happened. I'm not saying that there haven't been receivers who have, brought toxicity into a locker room that has led to the fall of a team, but it is just crazy to me how night and day different that offense looks with him on the field versus without him on the field. I'm fascinated to see where he ends up, because Baker and the Browns put on a good show this past Sunday. They were good last year without him, of course, but if OBJ goes to another team and lights it up, who do you view as winning that split? And is it a matter of who wins? It's just a matter of what's better for, what's the best situation for both at that point.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, it's a little bit of what's best for both. But if OBJ goes and lights it up, I guess my real question to all of this, and look, I'm not trying to be one of the hot takery people on Baker Mayfield. If your quarterback is so soft that the fact that he really likes somebody and wants to try and get him the ball makes him less of a player, like, that just doesn't fit the narrative of a great quarterback in my mind. So, like, I don't think you can have your cake and eat it too on this. If we believe that Baker's better without OBJ, then I'm not looking at OBJ. I'm looking at Baker and saying, why? Like, why do you need to have your hand held to that level if you're a better quarterback because you're suddenly more comfortable going to other options? Then you stand up to Odell Beckham Jr. in the locker room of the huddle and you tell him to sit down, shut up, and color in his book. Like, I don't understand why we're presuming that the answer here is that a good, not great quarterback, but a good quarterback is so soft that he needs to have his hands held through this. That's the part that doesn't make sense.
You just broke my heart. Every word out of Jason's mouth. It was like a left hook, right hook, and an uppercut, man. That was brutal. Holy moly. GSPN Radio's Jason Fitz, since I didn't give him the proper introduction to start the conversation because Mikey had me all flustered, but excited to have Jason on with us. Yeah, we'll see. Are we officially at the halfway point or kind of? I don't know what's the halfway point. By the way, is week 8 the halfway point or week 9? What's the halfway point of the NFL season now that we have these odd amount of games?
Yeah, I think I still go with week 8, and then we'll just take the extra week as like, the mulligan we all need on the golf course.
There we go. And trust me, I know a lot about that. Kev, do you have some?
Yeah, during week 3 when we had you on, I asked you about these taunting penalties. Bosa had one, and then the penalties with the Steelers and the Green Bay Packers game. Last night, Monday Night Football, everybody and their mom is watching the game, and, Big Ben gets sacked, and the linebacker gets a penalty for taunting. I thought it was for the karate kick that he did, but that was deemed an okay celebration. But mean mugging the sideline gets him a penalty. Where are you at with these taunting penalties? And the latest one happening obviously on Monday Night Football. Everybody seems outraged.
Yeah, no, that was a trash call. And at the end of the day, I don't know what we expect from guys that are playing. And obviously we don't know what he said, and I guess depending on what came out of his mouth, maybe that is part of what caused the call on it. But the officials were awful last night, and this is my annual reminder. The NFL will never do this, but we have learned as a society to accept certain things. Like, for example, when you watch football and you see your favorite team's quarterback, you know what a completion percentage rate is that's good and bad. At some point, what I want the NFL to start doing, instead of just telling us that they grade these officials, give us the book on these officials from the outset. Instead of just telling you the name of the head referee on the broadcast, give me the stats on him. How many calls does he get right? What's his grade according to the league? What penalties does he call too many of? Because they give that book to the players. Players are told in advance, hey, this crew calls holding a lot, so we got to worry about that. Make that information public so that we can start to understand the accountability. We'll accept over time what accountability looks like, but right now, it just feels like they hide stupid every single week when they don't tell us what they do to officials that are ruining some of these games. I hate it.
If you could pick only one, the College Football Playoff Committee or officials after a game, if you could only pick one group of individuals that should have to face the media in a scrum after every game or after every reveal of the polls, you could only pick one group, officials after every game or the College Football Playoff Committee after every Tuesday's release of the polls. You could only pick one. Which group do you think would be more intriguing television, in your opinion?
College Football Playoff Committee all day. But the one thing I would ask, and they'd never allow this, is inject truth serum of some sort into their veins right before they come out. So make them be honest. I just want one committee to look over and be like, yeah, I haven't even watched that team. I don't feel like they can be very I've asked straight up Bill Hancock and everybody around the committee, they're given iPads. And one thing that I think is interesting that they say they track it, but nobody knows. Dan Orlovsky said when he was with the Lions, the iPads they had actually reported to the team, screen time. How much time did you spend on your iPad watching film? I genuinely want to know from every committee member how many minutes they spent watching it, what they were watching, and what they're looking for. Until they answer for that, that's part of the reason we don't trust them with anything.
So earlier or last week after the poll, you started looking at, what do we learn? Like, what did the committee tell us? Because they don't physically tell us much, or if anything at all. But what patterns? Starting to dissect what patterns started to pop up in this. And the one pattern that I noticed is that they really put a lot of emphasis on the strength of schedule, which of course they move that goalpost all the time. But the strength of schedule did seem to matter as far as the starting block for every team. Cincinnati ranked at like 100th according to ESPN in strength of schedule. Ohio State had the second easiest schedule when it came to that. And you look at that, it's like, okay, Alabama's at number 2. Well, they're a one-loss Alabama team. How do they get at number 2? Is it because they're Alabama? Well, no, it's because they had the toughest strength of schedule of every team in the top 10 chasing those playoff spots. Ohio State, they got penalized for their loss against Oregon, who's a top 4 team right now, but they were held accountable for not being pretty in a lot of their games early on in the season. What patterns did you pick up on based on the first release of the poll last week? And do you think some of those patterns will, come into play this week? Will the committee be consistent in back-to-back weeks, do you think?
I think they will be, but one thing that the committee did this year is I think they left themselves a parachute. And what I mean by that is, like, look at Oklahoma. Oklahoma wasn't ranked very high, but they sure made sure to give a ton of love to Oklahoma State and Baylor, right? With the thought of leave enough equity in front of everybody. And I think we're going to see that tonight with Michigan State. Michigan State's going to fall, but let's remember that Michigan State still has Ohio State left in front of them. They're going to leave Michigan State enough window for either Michigan State or Ohio State to get the big win that they need to make sure that either of those teams ends up in the Final Four. And I'm not saying they're not deserving. It just feels like they left enough, and they did do that with Cincinnati. Like, they gave absolutely no credence to the AAC at all. So, in the process of doing that, what they really tell that's the most interesting thing I think the committee told us last week was like, hey, what's left on your schedule doesn't mean much to us, or it means way too much to us. There wasn't a lot of in between. So even with Alabama, as you mentioned, you look at what was left and then the loss they had. They sort of left all of these teams clumped in the mid-teens. So it's like they're leaving the future excuse of, hey, no, this is a good team. And I really want to know where they're basing that metric on. Like, how are they deciding who these teams in the 20s really are? That's why I want to know the film on it, because you want to tell me convincingly that Wisconsin belonged in the 20s, and nobody cares about that portion of the rankings until we start looking at strength of schedule afterwards and saying, hey, should Wisconsin be that high? Because that's a lot of love. Should Ole Miss really be that high? Because that's a lot of love, and that's the part that I think we don't pay enough attention to.
This past weekend, there were, quote unquote, not a lot of impressive victories by the teams that are contended for the top 4. Bama had a victory over LSU 20-14. Ohio State got up out of Nebraska with a tight win. Also, UC had homecoming. They had college game day in town. Everything was rolling their way in the second quarter. And then all of a sudden they decided to stop playing, and they only walked away with an 8-point victory. How do you think it's going to shake out tonight? Do you think UC is going to stand pat at 6, or do you think they can potentially fall?
I think UC is going to stand pat, but that in and of itself isn't enough, knowing that Michigan State's going to fall, right? So, Michigan State's going to fall below, but the problem is, and we talked to Barta last week on Rankings Reaction, and, asked him straight up, like, why are they where they are? And as he did on every show, he went straight to the games that UC won but didn't win convincingly enough. So to me, the committee was sending such a message of, hey, go out there and kick the you-know-what out of people, and we can maybe revise this. Right. So the fact that the game, and I'm just telling you, we'll talk to him tonight again, and I feel it in my bones. When I ask him about Cincinnati, he's going to say, well, look, a fumble in the end zone at the very end of the game really saved them. And it's just the terrible part about that is the committee has made this one expectation so clear. And as much as I want Cincinnati to find their way in the playoff, like the committee told you very flatly last week, go out and dominate if you want to be in this conversation. And then they didn't do it. And Ford being out was a big part of why their offense fell apart. But at the end of the day, it still fell apart. And that's all they're going to – you give somebody a yeah, but in that committee, they're going to use it. And that's my problem with what happened for Cincinnati last week. They left the yeah, but open.
ESPN Radio's Jason Foots. See, I need fired today. Like I am just this show, Jason. It's just been insane. I wish you could have heard that caller. He has me that rattled right now. Like that, I haven't been able to regroup since then. Let me talk slower. ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz hanging out with us today on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Jason, thanks so much. I know you're really busy on Tuesdays. We'll let you go. But real quick, send us out with this. Your top four. Who are your top four tonight? Is Ohio State just scooting up and just a little movement outside of that?
I'm going to put Oregon, and not because I think Oregon's really great, but they're the only team that won with a sort of exclamation point. So I'm going to put Oregon at 2. I'm going to move Oregon up, and then I'm going to keep Alabama and Ohio State in at 3 and 4. And
then, so you said Cincinnati would not move up to 5; they'd stay at 6.
I would personally put Cincinnati at 5. I wouldn't be surprised to see them keep Cincinnati at 6 and move Oklahoma, who did nothing other than not play, up to number 5.
Could you see Michigan moving up over Cincinnati? I thought, by the way, were they ranked high last week for you? Was that a surprise? Because they kicked ass over the weekend. They were one of the few teams that did blow out their opponent. So that's why I was kind of between on maybe a surprise of seeing them bump up to 5. Because, again, that would set up that Ohio State-Michigan game. Like you talked about those parachutes, that could be one of those two that they're setting up.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. I thought Michigan got way too much love in there, and but you're right. It speaks to the fact that they're basically the committee's looking at it and saying, "Look, we're going to make sure that either Michigan State, Michigan, or Ohio State gets in the playoff. We're going to be good with that one." And I still think the way they ranked Baylor and Oklahoma State, now obviously they took a loss there, but the way they ranked those, they've left the runway ahead for Oklahoma too. I feel like the committee is leaving enough runway for those two teams to make it in the playoff no matter what.
Rankings reaction, tell everybody how they can catch you, of course. You only have 10 shows with ESPN. My goodness. Yeah, let everyone know how they can catch you tonight, Jason.
Tonight we're on later because of the return of college basketball, so the rankings will come out for anyone that doesn't know between the 2 basketball games and the Champions Classic. Mm-hmm. So rankings reaction will be on all of your digital platforms and in the ESPN app at 10 p.m. Eastern. I got to put my old man glasses on because it's going to be old. I'm going to be old by the time we get on. But I'm going to get a little nap in so that I've got the energy, and then we'll eat Cheez-Its and react to everything.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, Cheez-Its. There you go. You the man, Jason. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
That was Jason Foots. All right, we got it. What?
Go to break, man.
We got a lot to catch up on, by the way. Wow.
You are so flustered, bro.
What's my fault? By the way, everyone's blaming me. Everyone said, he goes, and Jason just texted, by the way, and said, y'all are such a blast. That I appreciate that he says that, by the way, because sometimes I worry, I'm like, are we wasting this dude's time? Because he does real stuff. He does real college game day stuff. He doesn't
take calls from Mikey.
He does, yeah. First of all, Mikey, I do.
We love you, man.
The reason, and I always make sure I preface it with it. Mikey calls it, he's a boxing guy. He knows how to take a right and a left hook. He knows how to take it, and he knows how to take the punches.
Roll with your punches.
So I give him a ton of credit because some people don't like that about me and how I handle it, and that's fine. But what I love about Mikey, he gives it right back. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Shaw, too. I got to give Shaw a little credit there because there's times for people that aren't familiar with the show, like, how do you talk to everyone like that? No, just Mikey and Shaw. I don't know how they earned that right, but they did. So there you go. We'll be right back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash presented by See, I can't. I'll tell you who the hell we're sponsored by later. Bye. No, I have to be professional here. The show, I don't know if they'll get mad. I don't want to pull their sponsorship. I got to treat them with respect. The Justin Kinner Show is brought to you by Orion Sports Medicine, OGW Energy Resources, and Tim's. There we go. Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. Kinner needs help. We'll be back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hi, welcome to Furniture Depot. And you, come on in. couches are flying off the floor at Cheyenne's furniture store.
Sarah, can you go over to dining sets, please?
She needs more sales associates before shoppers take their seats elsewhere.
Somebody get me a price check on trundle beds.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
My go-to order at Skyline has always been a regular 3-way and cheese coney. But today, I made the switch to 5-way. Those hearty beans and diced onions took it to another level. From now on, I'm a Skyline 5-way guy.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Germain Honda Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer. For a limited time, get 0% financing on the 21 Passport, the 22 Pilot, and HRV, or 1.9% for 48 months on the 22 Odyssey. Lease a 22 HRV Sport for as little as $229 a month, or a CRV Hybrid EX for as little as $279 a month. See me, Sales Manager Jason High, for all the details. We are located on Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I hope to see you soon.
Want to buy your own home but think you can't afford it? What if you got down payment assistance or a discounted interest rate just for being a recent college grad, teacher, nurse, or veteran? The Ohio Housing Finance Agency offers this and more, and our programs are always available for eligible Ohioans, big city, small town, and everywhere in between. Find out if you qualify at myohiohome.org. That's myohiohome.org. Home ownership, ready when you are.
It takes 2 vaccines to help protect you this season, the flu and COVID-19. And now you can get both shots at the same visit. Learn more at cdc.gov/vaccines. Sponsored by Sanofi Pasteur.
If you're with Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, you're paying too much. Switching to Pure Talk saves the average family over $800 a year. Just dial pound 250 and say Jill 50 to save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250, say Jill 50.
Would you like a cleaning product that can be used in the garage, the laundry, and the kitchen, and save space in your cabinet? Hi, I'm Bruce Fabrizio, inventor of Simple Green. To learn more, visit us at simplegreen.com.
Finding the right Medicare plan may feel impossible, but now it's anything but. With Walgreens Find RX coverage tool, you can compare plans online, over the phone, or in person, making Medicare easier than ever. Easier than picking which true crime doc to watch, figuring out that Wi-Fi password, or putting the duvet cover back on. So if you can do those things with Find RX coverage, you can definitely Medicare. Find the plan that's right for you by visiting walgreens.com/Medicare.
The holidays are already here at Lowe's. Get pre-lit artificial trees starting at $99. Home to any budget, home to any possibility. While supplies last, valid 11/4 through 11/10.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more.
It's not just Santa who's coming to town, it's also your in-laws and their cousins. So time for some gifts from the Home Depot. From doorbell cameras to intelligent thermostats, you'll look smart and save big on the latest smart home gifts. Does your father-in-law like to fix things around the house? Put him to work with a DeWalt 20-volt 2-battery starter kit. Buy one, get one free. That should keep him busy. No matter who comes to town this year, make the holidays yours with savings on tools and gifts store-wide from the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Napa know-how.
When you buy the Napa bag for 99 cents, you'll get 20% off 3 or more items. No other bag saves you 20% on wipers, premium oil, headlamps, and more, which makes the Napa bag the best bag in the world. Sorry, handbags, man bags, punching bags, bagpipes, and even you, bags out of the eyes. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating locations, does not include taxes and fees. Advertised sale price not available in some states. Offer ends 11/30/21.
Fever is the leading symptom of COVID and the flu, and the only way to reliably detect fever is with an accurate thermometer. Be vigilant and be accurate with the Exergen Temporal Scanner, proven in more than 100 clinical studies. Don't rely on non-contact thermometers. They are proven to be inaccurate and will not reliably detect a fever that might mean COVID. Be sure to seek medical advice at the first sign of fever. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Dayton Barrel Works Bourbon and Whiskey Bash is Saturday, November 20th, noon till 3 p.m. Over 40 bourbons and whiskeys to sample. For tickets, call 937-228-2337. Dayton Barrel Works, 318 East 2nd Street in Dayton.
Looking for a career and not just a job? Then Dayton Progress is looking for you. Dayton Progress is the leading international manufacturer of tools and tooling components for the metal stamping industries and has immediate openings for their entry-level machinists. No prior experience is required, and Dayton Progress will train you, starting with the basics. They offer competitive wages starting at $15 per hour and up to $18 per hour with prior experience. New hires are eligible for merit increases after 90 days of employment. They also offer private health care, including vision and dental, free life insurance, a contributory 401k, promotions from within, company service recognition, and 100% tuition reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
This ad for Hellsberg Diamonds has been specifically written for those who'd rather think about hockey than engagement rings. You're at a game and your team scores the winning goal just as time runs out. Now, if that game is your proposal and you're running out of time to find the perfect engagement ring, Hellsberg Diamonds is your winning shot. Our combination of quality diamonds, wide selection, and a price match guarantee means you can be confident in your Hellsberg Diamonds engagement ring buzzer beater. Visit your local Hellsberg store and ask about our amazing financing options or check us out at hellsberg.com.
We are racing at Hollywood Dayton Raceway. Catch the excitement Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Post time on Monday is 2 p.m. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, post time is 4 p.m. Be there this Saturday for your chance to win one of 5 big screen televisions, Roku sticks with subscriptions to Racetrack Television Network, and gift cards to the Skybox Restaurant. That's this Saturday at Hollywood Dayton Raceway. Post time is 4 p.m. Be a winner at Hollywood Dayton Raceway.
Open enrollment for healthcare.gov is here. If you're uninsured or have a job that doesn't offer insurance, check out healthcare.gov. Due to a new law, prices are lower and more people qualify. Now, 4 out of 5 customers pay just $10 a month or less with financial help. It's easier than ever to find the right plan for you, and millions of Americans, just like you, have already enrolled. New law, lower prices, more people qualify. Sign up at healthcare.gov by December 15th.
At the American Lung Association, we're fighting for a day when we can all breathe easier. We're fighting for clear skies over every city. and healthy lungs throughout the country. We're fighting to free millions of Americans from the addictive grip of tobacco and the devastating effects of lung disease. The American Lung Association isn't just fighting for air, we're fighting for all the things that make it worth breathing, and we can use your help. See what you can do at fightingforair.org.
Well, I started my own restaurant because I love to cook, but that also means a lot of greasy pots and pans. And we can't waste time with endless sink changeovers. So we upgraded to Dawn Professional Pot and Pan.
Dawn Professional cleans 58% more pots and pans per sink than the leading competitor.
Less dish soap, fewer changeovers, and more time doing what we love.
Dawn Professional. It's clean. Upgraded. From P&G Professional.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on a Tuesday. College football playoff rankings come out tonight. We just talked about that with ESPN Radio's Jason Fitz. He hangs out with us each and every week. We do have Ohio State basketball coming up. Ohio State Akron right here on Dayton's home of the Buckeyes. Not just football, but on the hardwood as well all season long. And the season tips off tonight for Ohio State. Not just the Buckeyes in Columbus, but the Dayton Flyers. They have the UIC Flames out of the Horizon League. Tonight, 7 o'clock. The tip-off at UD Arena, 600-plus days without fans at UD Arena to watch the Flyers. That streak gets put to rest coming up here just under 2 hours from now. The Wright State Raiders also in action tonight. They will tip off their season. Lake Erie at the Nutter Center, 7 o'clock, the tip-off. Again, it's been quite a while. And don't make your stupid comments either, folks. I'm just saying, I already know where people go with this. It drives me up the wall. It's been a while since they've had fans in the arena as well. I know all of you have probably following that up with some stupid comment, and that's fine. And y'all wonder why I take shots at your team, because you know what? Y'all deserve it. You all like to be, I'm the biggest bully out there, okay? Y'all want to bully me and my teams, I'm going to bully you and your teams, and I do it better than you. So I'm just saying.
They didn't even give him a chance to say anything.
I know. I already hear what they say in my head because I literally, I know. For one, because I'm a hater. So when I listen to sports talk radio, when I hear people say like something, I was like, oh, I already know. If I check the mentions, I could probably list. I can always guess the first 5 responses, and I'm 95% correct every single time.
Do you argue with yourself?
No, I look at myself as like an attorney. I have to prepare I'm the dumbest attorney ever, but I have to be prepared for the opposition.
So you always think.
Yeah, so I always, before the show starts, I always, because I do actually do my homework. People say I don't. I'm just naturally stupid. My professors used to say that in college too. Not that I'm stupid. Well, maybe they did, but they never told me to my face. But I'll write down my takes on everything, and then on the left side, I write, I back it up with my stuff. And then on the right, I always follow it up with, okay, here's how they're going to counter that. I think Baker's great because of this. And then I know that they're going to bring up this, this, and this. So how do I counter that? Boom. I mean, Law and Order, here I come.
Yeah.
I could be Carisi. I could be them guys. I could,
Fitz had a little take about Baker and Odell.
What the hell does he know?
Your face wasn't looking so chipper, buddy. Wasn't looking like it was looking on Monday. Looking a little upset.
Hey, it is what it is. I'm not going to disrespect Jason Fitz. I can't disrespect Jason Fitz. I like him coming on the show.
Smart man.
There you go. Aye. Ohio State, again, we'll be handing it off to Ohio State coming up here in just a few moments. But so tonight, we only have a few minutes, Kev. The college football playoff rankings come out. I think a lot of it stays the same. I think what helped a lot of the teams, like Alabama struggling with LSU, they'll get bailed out because Ohio State struggled with Nebraska. They'll get bailed out because pretty much every team in college football this past weekend struggled with their opponent or lost. And I'm not saying that voids the fact that these teams struggled. I don't like that Ohio State struggled with Nebraska, but the one thing Bearcat fans need to understand, it's not really an opinion. It's kind of just common sense that, yes, the opponent, who you play matters. And if Cincinnati would have blown it. And this is the thing that Cincinnati, and I'm glad that Jason brought this up, they're shooting themselves in the foot. The committee, whether you like what the committee tells you or not, you still got to do what they say. And what they've basically said is go blow out your opponent. And for 3 straight weeks, they have won by single digits over non-sexy opponents. It's no longer about the committee being bullies to the Bearcats. That's kind of a universal rule Like you could struggle with the bad team maybe 1 week. It's forgivable for 2, but 3 straight weeks, I don't think the Bearcats move up. I think that they stay the same, but I don't be surprised if they move them back. I don't think enough teams had a good enough weekend to really push Cincinnati back, but I think that they'll be pretty fired up tonight when they stay right where they're at. My surprise move of the night is either going to be Oklahoma moving all the way up without playing and taking that 5 spot, or Michigan taking that 5 spot. I don't think Cincinnati moves. I do think Ohio State's number 4 and everything else stays the same.
Can you put Michigan ahead of Michigan State, though?
Michigan State didn't just lose, they got blown out.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but this is very similar to what we saw with Penn State, Ohio State years ago, where, okay, Penn State, we're putting you as high as you are because you beat Ohio State, but that's Ohio State's only loss. And every time Penn State kept winning, it became a better loss for Ohio State and ultimately helped them in the long run. We only have 60 seconds. What's your 4 tonight? What's your 6 tonight?
Georgia. Oh, man. Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Bama.
It's your prediction, right? Like not your 4, your 6. Okay.
Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Bama, UC, Michigan State.
Michigan State?
Yeah.
I think it's Georgia, Alabama. I think Oregon moves up to 3, Ohio State 4. Michigan or Oklahoma will jump up to 5. Cincinnati will stay at 6. You'll see your Oklahoma States move up. I think, Notre Dame, but you can't move Notre Dame up with keeping Cincinnati the same. But see, Cincinnati screwed themselves by not blowing out opponents. Like that's what that'll be the wild card. It was their schedule at first. That was what was being used against them. Now it's what they're not doing with their schedule that's being held against them. Folks, have a great night. Kev, we got to recover from what just happened today.
We do.
So have a great night. We'll do this again tomorrow. College football playoff rankings, college basketball. I love it. Tonight's for a Tuesday. It's a great night. Have a great night. We'll do this again tomorrow. Until tomorrow, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Staples Connect is a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore what's new at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
Ohio families have been waiting a long time for the moment they could get COVID-19 protection for their younger kids.